Hello there, this is Orlo Furi. Welcome to your favorite human interest chat show, The African Dream. Today we're here with Bishop Samuel Ben Owusu. Bishop Owusu, welcome to The African Dream.
Thank you, African Dream.
To have you.
God bless you. I'm so excited to have you too.
Same here.
Yeah.
Tell us, who are you, briefly?
Wow. Bishop Samuel Ben Owusu is a grace-called man of God. You know, if I say grace-called man of God, because I was a street hawker, nobody, but by his grace, God called me out of the lot and then pursuing assignment. Now I'm the head pastor of the Pottersville Church and the president of Covenant Christian Leadership College, a Bible school that train a lot of young men all in Africa, many countries coming to be trained, and basically a preacher.
Bishop, tell us about the Pottersville Church. Where is it located? I know we're here at the offices of the church in Ghana, but where exactly are you located?
Yeah, Pottersville Church, by the grace of God, is in its headquarters right now at the East Legon Hills, Accra. It's a new suburb, it's a new classic area that is developing, and the Lord spoke to us that we should move in here. So we have moved here, and we are waiting for the whole community to come.
Right. It's interesting. Yeah. I took a little tour of the surroundings of the church, and it's like you said, it's a classic development area. And I hear you played quite a influential role in getting the area developed and set up. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you so much. When we came in here, it was a very remote area. You know, it's a new development area, and many things were not available, like roads, like lighting systems. So we have to contribute as a church to bring light.
What year was this?
That's about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Just 2 years ago.
So 2017?
Yeah, 2017. And then we brought the light, then we make the road motorable, and then we created many outlet road around the area, just to make sure that people can have access to their homes and also to come to church. And then also we provided security because the government or the police people were not available around. But at the time when we came in, so we have to also work it out to bring all these people here. But actually the project started about 5 years ago. So 2 years ago, then we had all this thing in place. But about 4 or 5 years ago, we started the project around here.
You have quite an impressive building. I was really impressed when I walked in.
Thank you.
You were saying earlier on in the conversation that you have a sitting capacity of about 2,000 people.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. You have a top section and then obviously the ground section and about 6 offices inside the building. Before you got here, where were you? Okay,
our church was in Accra, in the center of Achimota. You know, we call it Achimota Golf Hills, which many people know in Africa. It's the center for all these global people coming for education in Achimota School. You know, Achimota School has been education center that have trained our first president and even President Kufuor and other presidents. So that was where our church was. But the Lord spoke to me to move to this outskirts of the city. In fact, it's about 2.5 hour drive from the former place to this place, you know. So it's been awesome because according to church growth, you cannot actually just move a church in such a manner and still maintain the people and even grow beyond your limit, because it's difficult for people to come to church to this area. In fact, when you are coming, you will attest to that. But it's so awesome that, you know, wherever there is green, the sheep will lie down. That's one thing God told me. He said, keep on feeding, keep on producing green leaves, and the sheep will come. And it's amazing if you come here and see Sunday, people are packed, people come from all over the city in this place. It's so amazing. So we give God the praise for what he has done for us. Even though when we were in the city, it was easy access. Everybody can come, including even people who are just passing on the roadside, can just enter our church. And by the grace of God, we had a breakthrough in the city. You know, we can even block road. I mean, when we are doing programs, the whole place is packed and things like that. But I believe that when you are in your location, when you find yourself in a place of divine location, there is a certain kind of eternal joy that comes into you, you know. And I'm glad I took these steps to come to this area, and it has made a lot of churches to come around, a lot of schools, a lot of, you know, companies are coming around simply because they found out that Bishop Sam Owusu is there, or a certain popular church has moved to that area. And I'm so excited.
It's interesting. You mentioned the fact that the area has gradually begun developing just by virtue of the fact that you're here, your church is here, and it's just helping to expand and develop the area.
That's it.
Make it a little bit popular as well.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the unpopular days when you started out. Sleeping in the corners of the street. Hustling to survive.
Yeah. You know, I was born, bred, budded, and grew up in the village. Typical village,
What
you
village?
know. It's located between New Edibiase and Obuase. Okay, and it's not New Edibiase. Even New Edibiase is not a big city.
Right.
You know, talk less of the village or a small city. It's a village of a population of about 100 or 150.
Very small village.
Very small village, and that's where I grew up from. And I couldn't finish secondary school. I have to drop out of school to sell in the street. So we headed to Accra to be a street hawker. And as a street hawker, as a homeless man, you know, there is a place we stay. It is called Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah, that's where we used to live. And in fact, that was the place for us. That was the only available place we can stay. And that's a place that you can have about 15 to 20 people staying in one single room. And everybody at any night will be having his girlfriend, you know, making love. People are sleeping, people are having sex on the same room, and you have to sleep. If you don't want to sleep, get out.
Privacy.
So you have to either tend to be a smoker or be a drunkard or be a womanizer just to pass the night.
Right.
Just to pass the night. And I was, as a firstborn, that's what I used to do. To also take money to the village and help my parents and things like that. Because if there is money, virtually I would have finished secondary school because I was the most brilliant student in our village. You know, I was the talk of the town. But quite unfortunate, you know, we couldn't get anybody to support me. And so that's what, you know, we started
So you
from.
have to move from the village.
We have to move from the village to Accra. Yeah, we sell in the
to
street.
take back home.
Sell in the street to take back home so that my other brothers can also go to school and my parents can have what to eat and things like that. And my mother was sick for almost 20 years. She was a sick woman, so she was not able to do a lot of things that she could do. But even though with all her sickness, she was trying to help. But we are about 8 children, you know, 7 in number, and 1 adopted child was staying with us. It's from our it's a cousin that the mother died, the father died, so she was staying with us. And we are 8 people living in one single room in the village. And you know, sometimes a common toothbrush, the whole family is one. It's one in the family. So your mother will finish blushing, then you will continue, then your father will continue, your brother will continue. That's the kind of poverty that we had. And from the village, when I came to Accra, I continue from another type of city village.
Right. Sodom and Gomorrah.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
It's interesting.
You know?
Let me ask you,
Yeah.
while you were living in Sodom and Gomorrah,
Yeah.
all the vices that you experienced,
Yeah.
going through some of them personally yourself, what point did you arrive at that made you realize that this is my lowest point?
Yeah, you know, it was this particular day that the police arrested me because they were doing, you know, they used to come there because people sell cocaines and weed and all kinds of things there. Yeah, so the police raid, you know, they do that often. And there was a day they came in there and they took my goose. Actually, because with all these things, I was born into a Christian home. My parents are Seventh-day Adventist people. So there was this rule laws of Christianity that were born into it. So even though I'm living in that place, and I've gone a little astray, but it was not too much as compared to other people. So I used to sell in the street as a street hawker. You know, those of guys that would chase cars with goose, selling toffee, selling handkerchief and things like that. And then this police, they didn't have mercy on me. They took the goose I was selling. And the goose I was selling was borrowed. You know, there is a master in the area who have the goose. So you go and collect the goose, you sell, then you retain the money and take another goose after you have subtracted your profit. So I have gone to collect new goose in that night to sell early morning the next day. And this police came there and took this. I told them it's not my goose. They said, I'll forget it.
And you still got arrested?
And I was still got arrested.
So
you know?
trouble.
So they arrested me, put me in the cells, you know. So that day I wept a lot. I cried so much, and I was so angry in my spirit, and I was asking so many questions.
Did you blame God?
I don't know. At that time, at that point in time, no. In our church system, we didn't believe in miracles. We don't talk about God doing miracles and things like that in that particular organization, right. Seventh-day Adventist. So I think my mind was like my parents. My parents didn't do well, because before, my father was a wealthy man, and then because of certain situations, he was put into prison, and he left prison and came home with an empty hand, and that led us to that village. Right. So from the beginning of the infancy, I actually knew that my parents were rich people. At 4 or 5 years, I knew that my parents were rich people, that we had everything. But 6, 7 years, that's where we actually moved to the village. Right. I was born in the village, but I was taken out of the village to the city. My father was doing well. He was a manager of a certain company, and they had a crash down, and my father was arrested and put in prison for almost some years. So I went back to the village with my mom and other siblings and things like that. So after my father returned, he couldn't come back to the city again, and we didn't do anything again. So I was so much in pain. They didn't take care of me. They didn't take me to university. I couldn't finish secondary school, and then this is happening to me and things like that. So, thank you so much for watching this episode with Ora and myself. I believe that this will impact your life, as my belief has been, always raising people, impacting destinies, and shaping people's life. I believe that God is about to change your life. There will be a miracle. You will experience a dramatic change, and you will fulfill your destiny. God bless you. Let's go back to finish with the interview. I believe this is your time to step up. This is your time to take the nations of the world. Do what they said you cannot do. Preach what they say you cannot preach. Touch what they say you cannot touch. It's possible. It may be very difficult, but it's not an impossible task. God bless you. When the police released me, I went to sit behind a woman who used to sell roasted plantain around the area, and she's like a mother to some of us. And when I sat down, I was so angry at the police, and I was insulting them. The woman looked at me, and the woman told me, you don't know who you are. In fact, that's one of the greatest questions I've ever had in my life that changed my life. Who are you? Okay, you don't know who you are. If you know who you are, you'll not be sitting here crying and be insulting police people, because you are supposed to be a very big pastor, or a very big, like a president or a minister.
What's that, the turning point?
Yes, that's what the woman said. So a moment I heard that word, I got angry with myself. I became furious with it. How can you be telling me this? I'm here as a beggar, as a street boy, as a nobody, and you are telling me, you and I, all of us, we stay here.
Right.
Why didn't you say this to your children? Because your children are also here. Your husband is here, and me, we are here. Why are you looking at me, telling me that I am supposed to be a pastor, or supposed to be a minister of state, or a honorable man of God, or something?
Right.
I was so angry, angry with her. Then that word began to speak, began to sink in my spirit. I was like, what is happening? Why? How can this woman tell me this? Because this is not an evangelist. She's not a woman of God. She's not a pastor. She doesn't go to church at all. How on earth can she predict me not to be a musician, not to be a cocaine dealer, not to be a businessman, but to be a pastor? That began to trick me back to the ages when I was small. When I was very young. Every Muslim clerk that sees me, or a Christian man of God, or a pastor, or a priest, or even a fetish priest that sees me when I was young, they were telling me, I'll be a very big man of God. I'm a big man of God.
When did you start to believe in yourself? When did you feel like this is the moment where God has taken me?
That same night.
Turning point started.
That same night, the woman spoke that to me. Then my mind began to, play the movies of the scenes of those people who have prophesied or spoken into my future before, that there was no hope. Because
how old were you?
By that time, I was just about 10. Because I used to preach in our village, in the Seventh-day Adventist, and I left that to sell in the street. So those things began to speak to me loudly. So that night, I began to cry. I cried so deep that my nose...
Did you know why you were crying?
I didn't actually know why I was crying. But I was thinking about me being a pastor. How? Like how? Because I couldn't finish secondary school. Secondary school is like a high school. I couldn't finish high school.
Right.
So how? Because if you want to, in my understanding, if you want to be a pastor from where I was born, from the Orthodox side, you have to finish that high school and go to university, which the church has a Bible school to go. When you go there and you finish, then you can become a pastor.
Isn't it ironic? Someone who didn't go to the Bible school now runs the Bible school.
That is what God can do. So that is, and in fact, that is one of the reasons why I started a Bible school.
Right.
Because there are many people like me who have never had a formal education, who will not be admitted in any of the theological Bible college because they cannot even write their names, they can't express themselves, and people think that speaking English is the basis for you to become great. But I've come to understand that all the great men of God around the world, or businessmen around the world, about majority of them are not well educated. Okay, and many of them do not even have a university degree, or if they have a university degree, maybe from a different source or something of that sort. Right. So that night was my turning point. When I began to cry, suddenly I fell asleep. And in my own whole life, for 4 years I lived in that shank. I never dreamt before. That was the first day I slept. That was the first day I dreamt. And the dream started around 12 midnight till the next day 9 a.m. Nobody could wake me up. Even when they were all going to work, they wake me up. I refused to wake up because I was still dreaming. So I had an encounter. So when I wake up from my dream, I started speaking in tongues. I was speaking a language inside the dream. And I didn't know that the language I was speaking, which it was understandable in the dream, physically it was tongues.
Right.
So that's my turning point. So from that day, my eyes opened, my mind opened. There is something, there's a joy, there's something was telling me I should go to church, I should start praying, I should do. So I packed my things and left Accra, went back to the village. When my parents saw me, when my mother saw me, it was another hell. Because I'm the one sending money home.
Right. And now
and now you have come, and when you came, you were speaking in tongues. So they thought I was mad, they thought I have smoking, and maybe the thing has entered my brain and things like that. So they started applying local medicine, local herbs and things like that. And it was a fight between me and my father.
When did your family start to accept you?
It took almost 10 years.
What's the relationship like with them?
Right now it's so sweet. It's so sweet because by the grace of God, I've become the light of the family. I'm the one. I've taken all the 6 boys to university, through secondary school to university. By the grace of God, all of them have finished university.
Now, what you say makes me realize that you are a person who gives back.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways quickly that you have been giving back to the community?
By the grace of God, we have done a lot in education. In Achimota, we had a foundation. We had the Samosu Foundation that we have taken almost 80 to 100 people through school. Some of them, I picked them from the street whilst I'm driving, and I saw them selling, and I speak to them and they are able to express themselves. I will ask them, so you know how to speak English? I say, yes. Right. Why are you here? So my school certificates. I say, come, I'll bring them to my house. Some of them, I put them in my house. There was a time I had more than 15 people in my house. Today.
How does your wife take it?
Oh, she has to take it because that's my life. Right. I was born to help people.
So she's accepting of
she does it, even though it has not been easy. It has not been easy setting up a church or beginning ministry. It has to be with vision and a dream and with what God has given to you. But every dream is packaged in a rough system. We have gone through a lot. Our church breaking down. I started more than 5 churches, all of them break down. 5 different churches, all of them break down. Even how I even got to Nigeria, went to Bible school on the road. I didn't have money to go to Bible school. By the time I finished, came back to Ghana, started the church. 5 different churches. I will start it to break down. Then I started raising leaders, raising young guys, and it has been difficult. The money support, not from anywhere, but God has been faithful. through these people that I started imparting them, because I got a strategy that the Lord spoke to me that I should start imparting pastors and training pastors for free. So I started that, and that was my breakthrough point. That was my breakthrough point. So I started having hundreds of guys coming around to study the word of God every Saturday, and these people started spreading the gospel that there's a young guy who has the power, who has the anointing to spark us, and this guy became evangelist. Now today all of them are spreading the whole country. I have pastors everywhere that pass through my ministry, that impartation ministry. It was a free school. Until today, we have never charged anybody any money. And that was the breakthrough. Because when I was starting the church and it was not standing, the Lord spoke to me. I have called you to raise people. Start raising them. So I went to radio and announced that we are doing Bible school free. Either you have been to school or you have not been to school. Either you know how to speak English or you don't have to speak English. It's God that calls. He called Peter, who has never been to school.
That's right.
You know, a fisherman. And that was the breakthrough. That was a turning point of our ministry, because God saw that I was in my terrain. I was doing what he has sent me to do, and no wonder he has to bring the support. So people started coming in to support us. You know, from all over the world, we have people coming to support. It has not been easy, but God has been faithful.
Tell us your website address where people can go to visit and get more information.
www.bishopsamuelowusu.
You can see the website address. Get in touch. Those of you who are interested in ministry and want an opportunity to be trained according to the gospel, he also runs a free Bible school. Get in touch. Website address is there. Connect with him. And before we continue, I give you Bishop Owusu. Enjoy.
But you see, it may look difficult, but it is not impossible. You are not hearing me. It may look very difficult, but it is not impossible. For how long will you blame your brain and blame yourself that for how long? You may not have the gift to study well in school, but you don't need to deny yourself of education. You don't have education from school alone. You may not have any skill, you may not have any qualification or any degree or any certification, but don't deny yourself of your life. Am I communicating here? 4 lepers came together and said, let's think about our life. We are leprous. In this our society, to be a leprous is a problem. It is a sickness you didn't bargain for. Many of us, we are going through problems we didn't bargain for. Come on, you are not hearing what I'm talking about. You never knew you would remain like this without not having a child. You never knew you would remain like this without having a husband. You never knew you would remain like this without having a car. You never knew you would remain like this with not even having a fat salary. When you were growing up, you have many anticipation and you have many hopes and you have many joy. When you were in school, you know what will happen. You thought yourself, I will marry at the age of 27. You told yourself, I will have cars and I will have lands. But now it has not come to pass, but that does not mean you can stop where you are. Ladies and gentlemen, there is another level ahead of you. There is another place ahead of you, because it is not one way to break through. There are several ways to break through. That's what the Bible says. He gave us kings.
That was Bishop Samuel Owusu. We hope you enjoyed the short clip where he was preaching. To get in touch with him and to watch more of such videos, check out his website, the address on the screen. Personally connect with him. He's doing an amazing job out here in Ghana. Look for ways you can contribute or support, either financially or logistically. He's going to tell us himself about some of the projects that they've been engaged in. And over to you, Bishop.
Thank you so much. By the grace of God, we embark on this, our cathedral, and we build it debt-free by the grace of God, by the support of our partners all around the countries and around the world. Some of them were these boys that they didn't know their left from their right. But by the grace of God, there's something we want to do also, which we have begun. We have even acquired the land. We want to build one of the classic universities, you know, for young leaders. It is called Emerging Leaders University, which I've started preaching all over the country, raising young guys by the grace of God. So that's one of the biggest projects we are intending to do. And then our television also, where we are setting up a free television station where we can actually help a lot of young men of God to also propagate the gospel without paying money. It's difficult to do that because it's not easy to pay for all these things, but we are believing God that it's possible, because there are a lot of quality great men around that God is using them, but because of money, because they don't have the money to pay TV stations and things, they are not there. So we only see those who have the money to pay. So I am believing God that our Charisma TV station that we are setting up will come to a time that we can divide 50% of it will be free for young men of God that are coming. And also we want to start a computer training center which is based for communities. So deprived areas, we want to set computer training center, which we have begun, the pilot one. So we want to do it bigger and to also help a lot of young guys that are coming to the street. I believe so much that every human being has something to offer. Everybody you see in this world have something to offer. But sometimes it's either they don't know what they can offer, or number two, they have not heard what is inside of them. Number three, that means they have not discovered. Number three, they have not received any support of what they can offer, how they can offer it. And sometimes too, the society has misinformed us so much to the extent that we think we cannot do anything without maybe money, without maybe education, without maybe connections. But I believe that everybody in Africa, in the whole world, it doesn't matter, even you may be in the prison right now, you may be watching me from the prison, but I know something peculiar is in you, that when you meet some people, they will spark up that thing inside of you and it will bring an explosion.
Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you so much.
Bishop. Someone might be watching right now who is at the lowest point of their life. There's someone also who feel like they don't even believe in Jesus Christ, or they don't believe in God. What do you have to say to them briefly?
Thank you so much. What I want to say to every one of you is, either you believe in God or you don't believe in God. The first thing I want you to understand is that God is there. There is a super being. There's a supernatural man who is God. And that God might be living inside of you. You know that you are two in one body. So there is a spirit, there is another person inside of you. Once you are seeing the reality of what is happening right now, there is another man also beside who you are, where you are, what you have, and what you are doing, speaking to you that you can be better. And I believe that God can change your life. Either you believe it or you don't believe it. You don't actually need to see him.
It's an amazing work you're doing. We appreciate
Thank you so
the help
much.
you're giving to the community,
Thank
the
you so
dedication,
much.
the service, and also the spiritual upliftment.